Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Twin Mirror. A description for this game is Sam Higgs was done with Basswood, Virginia, but it seems it wasn't done with him. When the former investigative journalist returns to his hometown to say a final farewell to his best friend, it soon becomes clear that there are more chapters to be written in his troubled history. Forced to confront his past, Sam finds himself torn between reconnecting with loved ones and using his unique intellectual abilities to uncover the town's dark secrets. But how do you know who to trust when you're not sure you can even trust yourself? All right, and then moving on to production. This was developed by DontNod, who we of course know for Life is Strange 2, Tell Me Why, Vampire, among some other games. So that's who this is. Also noteworthy about Twin Mirror is this is the first game that was both developed and published by DontNod. So that's a move DontNod has made recently, where they've been making games, but someone else publishes them. More recently, they've gotten into publishing games as well. So just a kind of breakdown of some of their games. So Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2 were both published by Square Enix, but developed by DontNod. You've got Tell Me Why, which was developed by DontNod, but published by Xbox Studios. You've got Vampire, and then upcoming game, The Banishers Ghost of New Eden. Those were both published by Focus Home. And then lastly, there's another upcoming game called Harmony, The Fall of Revere, which is going to be published by DontNod. So just to kind of give an idea of what's going on in the studio and what they've done. All right, from here, I wanted to move into some non-spoiler thoughts, just to give you an idea of maybe what I thought about the game without giving any story points away. And so what we got is one thing that I liked a bit in this game was the adult themes in them. So, there's job loss. There's a lot of talk of that throughout this game. The town that this is set in is a former mining town, and there are some issues around that. So there's a lot of job loss related stuff, poverty, things like that. Also, failed relationships. I thought that was interesting. I think that's interesting kind of always, and you see that in these games where, like Max and Chloe having issues in Life is Strange, or, anything like that. That's kind of normal topic, I would say, at DontNod, but I thought that was cool in this one, having exes, or this is a mild spoiler, but that Sam was estranged from his best friend's daughter, and they were close before Sam had moved. Things like that. So I thought those were cool. I liked, getting older, so to speak, or some of that. I thought that was cool. Gotta shout out the West Virginian reputation. It seems like they handled that well. The only thing I can pull off from that is on the refrigerator in one of the parts in the game, someone said there are pepperoni rolls in the fridge. I have a friend from West Virginia, and he loves pepperoni rolls and talks about them. And when I saw this, I was like, hey, this game accurately did your state. And he was like, yep, that's spot on. So I thought that was cool. I'd say overall about this game, before we get any deeper on it, is I didn't love the game. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was a bad game, but it also didn't wow me or anything like that. It didn't make me be like, I've got to tell my friends to play this, or, DontNod's doing great. Instead, honestly, this game has me asking a bit after I played it was Life is Strange a fluke for DontNod or not? And kind of the other big question is, who is DontNod going to be? We've kind of seen them with this one, I think, being the developer and the publisher. I'm sure that there are a lot of good things about that as a studio, if you were both. both things, I assume that means you're making money all over the game, as opposed to losing a cut to like Square Enix for the Life is Strange series or whatever. But it has me uncertain. I'm just not sure. I guess going back through DontNod's games, so played Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2, of course, and like both of them, Life is Strange 1, of course, being really beloved by me, Life is Strange 2 being a solid game that maybe hurt from, I don't know, different things for me. Maybe expectations, maybe the long release time, things like that. There. I don't have an Xbox, so I haven't played Tell Me Why. What I do know about it is it seems like people like it, and it's a little bit shorter. It was like 3 chapters, as opposed to like 5 episodes, like each Life is Strange game was. Tell Me Why was released as a standalone, but I think it does have 3 chapters and was initially going to be episodic, but they changed their mind, I guess, for reference. You've got Vampire, which is a totally different game. Instead, this is an RPG. Vampire is an RPG. They did that with Focus Home. I feel like that Banishers game will probably be more like Vampire than anything else. I would have to guess that the Vampire team is who's making Banishers, and that the Life is Strange teams probably made Life is Strange 2, Tell Me Why, and Twin Mirror, since those all follow kind of your, decision tree and all decisions and all of that stuff. So, and being more interactive, not interactive novel because it's still a game, but more interactive-y, more Telltale-like, so to speak. And then the Harmony game that's upcoming, I don't know a lot about that, other than its name. I think I don't know what style game it is, but I'm very curious. I guess all of this to say is, who is DontNod? What are they good at? What are they not? I guess I didn't say this. Vampire came out. We played that. I like that game, and I look positively on it. When I first played it, it was, I think, the first year in our podcast, and I was not as good at games as I am now. Not that I'm great now, but I'm definitely better than I was like 5 years ago. And so, I don't know. I think that's a good game. And part of me is wondering, I feel like after Twin Mirror, should they just stay going in the RPG direction or other types of stuff? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. So, anyway, those are a couple of my thoughts, sort of about the game, and about kind of the state of all of this. I think that's a big thing that's really brought up for me is this. So, with that, I'm gonna hop into our recap. So, it's gonna be spoilers from here on. If you don't want spoilers, hop off here. All right. So, game begins with Sam returning to Basswood for the funeral of his best friend, Nick. And before Sam gets there, he stops at this park that overlooks the city. He's looking down at it, kind of reminiscing. And he enters what's called the Mind Palace, which is this sort of state Sam goes in where he goes, investigative mode, I guess, trying to like piece together things. And when you go down this trip down memory lane, it kind of looks like the memory lane moment from Life is Strange, if anyone's played that, where you see some key moments and kind of fill in some of Sam's backstory this way. So, one thing that happens in this is Sam proposes to Anna, but she says no. And then from here, you talk to your double while you're in the Mind Palace, who gives you advice. Your double is basically a guy who looks like you, except he has glasses. He almost looks like the nerd version of you, or like you if you were a student teacher for psychology or something. That's kind of how I see him. But your double gives you advice. What's weird here and not really revealed is who this is. If this is like your conscience talking to you, if it's something supernatural, whatever it is. That's kind of your start. From here, once you leave the park, you head to the bar. You'd miss the funeral, but you arrive at the bar in town for a memorial service for Nick. Outside of the bar, kind of on your way in, you talk to Bug, who's Nick's daughter, and she thinks that Nick's death is suspicious and not just a car accident, and she asks you to investigate. Can you kind of look around, ask some questions? I'm not buying what happened. For me, I agreed to say, yeah, sure, I guess I'll ask some questions. Inside the bar, you talk with a couple different people. You talk with Walter, who is your old boss from the paper. He's seemingly a pretty nice guy. I liked him. It didn't feel like there was bad blood for Sam having quit his job and left town. There are also some angry miners. You don't get this fully unveiled yet, but they're mad at you. There are some issues at the mine that you related to, so they're pissed at you. You also talk with Sheriff Declan, who is the town sheriff. You also talk with Dennis, who's this guy who's an asshole who worked at the paper when you did, and then also Anna. You find out in this early frame too. Anna, of course, is who you'd proposed to, kind of in this memory lane sequence where she said no. Since then, she started dating Nick, and so has been close with him after you left. Anna performs a song for Nick, kind of at his funeral. And then after this, Sam gets drunk. And that's kind of your night at the memorial. The next morning, you wake up hungover, without a shirt, and you kind of wander into your hotel bathroom and you find your shirt there just covered in blood. And you're like, oh shit, what happened? So again, you go into the Mind Palace to try to calm down and also kind of figure out what happened. So one thing that also seems like when you talk to your double is this maybe like a coping mechanism sort of thing of a like, all right, I'm feeling really anxious. How do I ground myself in reality? That's sort of what that seems like to me overall. But it's sort of visualized this way, I guess. So to start your journey of figuring out what happened, you sneak into the bar to try to piece together what's gone on. Again, you use this Mind Palace to solve what happened at this fight. Who was involved in the fight? What part of the bar did the fight take place in? Kind of what was the deal? Ultimately, through this puzzle mechanic here, you figure out that you got in a fight with Dennis, your former coworker. From here, you head off to go find Dennis. All right, I got in a fight. I need to say sorry. I need to make sure he's okay. All of that. And so you wander around the street, like downtown street, going into a couple different places, looking for Dennis, and kind of asking people what's up. So who you kind of see on the way, you talk to Sheriff Declan outside, you stop by the pharmacy, and you talk with Kathy, who is Bug's mom, and you also talk to Hugh, the pharmacist. Bug's outside, you talk to Bug a little bit. You also go to a coffee shop and talk to a couple people there. So what this effectively does is it gets you kind of looking around, getting to meet people, seeing a little bit more of the town, and also showing that people have varying reactions to you, I guess. So like how the miners don't like you, you're not necessarily welcomed by everyone who sees you, or some people have lived there since before you left, and they're like, oh, you're back. There are other people who are new. It kind of sets the stage for all that sort of stuff. Finally, in your searching, you call Anna, you talk with her, and you meet up at the coffee shop. Here, you get one of your notable decisions. Are you going to tell Anna about what's going on? I involved her in it. I thought that by having her involved, I don't know, she's also a reporter, so she might be able to help. Also, like, she, I think, cares about you, even though you're not together. and care about Nick, who you both do or did care about. And so, I don't know, she felt like a safe and right person to be open with. So from here, you and Anna head to the newspaper offices. And while you're in there, you find Dennis's dead body. Again, go into the Mind Palace and kind of puzzling your way through this, you discover that Dennis got shot with his own gun, and that it was by someone he trusted, that there wasn't resistance. So it wasn't, they struggled for Dennis's gun and it happened to go off. Instead, Dennis was in there. Someone came and talked to him, and Dennis was like, "Oh yeah, you can check my gun out." And then that person shot Dennis with the gun. So, pretty notable kind of findings here. Also, when you look around the office, you find out that Nick had a secret informant named D, who he was seeing. You also go and see Walter's desk. While you're there, you find the police report. And there are things that don't add up on the report, such as that Nick wasn't wearing a seatbelt. One thing that Sam knows and Bug had said earlier was they say he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but Nick was like a hyper, like, you always wear your seatbelt kind of person. And reading the police report, Sam read a couple details and he's like, this is not adding up right. Like, am I to believe that Nick, fell asleep at the wheel not wearing a seatbelt, blah, blah, blah kind of thing, or this? Like, it's not adding up with the person I knew sort of situation. When you are at the newspaper office, you end up calling Anna. She, I think, was outside elsewhere. And she comes, she sees the dead body, and you decide ultimately to have her call the police anonymously after you get out of there. So you don't want to leave your name, but you also didn't want to look like you're like hiding the body. So that's where kind of we decided to go. From here, Sam and Anna head to the scene of Nick's accident. While they're there, you use the Mind Palace again to reconstruct the events. All right, how did this car crash take place? What you ultimately find, kind of using this mechanic, is that Nick was unconscious when his car crashed. Crashed, and that the car was set on fire. There wasn't anything in the road, so it wasn't, he swerved out of the road, out of the way of an animal or something like that. That he wasn't drunk. That that sort of stuff, to kind of land how the crash happened, where the skid marks are or aren't, all of that stuff. Right after you kind of solve this puzzle, Anna gets a call from her dad saying that her house got broken into. So you and Anna head back to her house to see what's up. When you get there, her dad is there and he's concerned. And is worried. What is my daughter getting into? Will she be safe? All of that. And I affirmed him and was like, I've got you. I'll keep her safe. It's all right. And he decides to trust me, with me kind of voicing confidence in protecting Anna. When you get inside the house, Anna's house is a wreck. Things have been like torn about, thrown about, trashed, all of that stuff. And you help her clean up and kind of console her. Upstairs, you kind of make your way first downstairs, helping clean up, that sort of stuff. And then you go upstairs. When you're upstairs, you end up finding Nick's laptop sitting there, and there's a USB stick in it downloading stuff. And when you are like, wait, what? Then you get punched in the back of the head from behind and you're knocked out. You wake up and you talk with Anna, and you're like, it's not, if this information is sensitive and Nick's trying to be careful with it, Nick isn't going to not have a backup. Like, that's who Nick is. And it's probably at a secret spot. And you realize, kind of thinking about where that could be, is that there's a family fishing hut. And so Nick probably has set up some backup info there. So you head there. You get ready to head that way. The police arrive, so Anna stalls with the police, talking about her break-in, and you sneak out the back door and head off towards the fishing hut. You arrive at the fishing hut, and Bug is there. You find out that Bug was planning to run away. Bug doesn't like her mom, Kathy, and is really disappointed in her. Basically, that you're not a provider, you're not a real parent, any of that stuff. And so feeling like my dad's gone, my mom is not a real parent, there's nothing keeping me here, so I'm going to run away and try to run to my grandparents' house. I think that's, I don't know, a few hours away, something like that. And I end up talking with her, and I persuade her to go home and tell her mom what's up. You need to be honest with her, share with you how you feel, but also you can't run away, basically. After Bug leaves, you look around the fishing hut. You find money, you find drugs, you find out the name of the informant, a guy named Dickie. You also find out that he lives at a place called The Pier, and that Anna had written an article about it and can take you there. So The Pier is this kind of homeless community of sorts. People from Basswood who've been on hard times, they kind of set up shop at this place called The Pier. So it's not a real location that you would go, but it is sort of this hidden-ish community. So you head to The Pier. When you get to the community, you find out more about them, that this is a tight-knit group of people. They're also people that are down on their luck, and they don't trust outsiders. So Nick and Anna having trust there because of their article, they are different. They've set themselves apart because they showed that they care, that they're invested in their experience. But you showing up as Sam, they don't know you, and so they don't like you. They're like, what's this guy after? Why is he here? Sort of feel. But Anna has some credit with them. So, you are at the community and you're kind of looking around, snooping, trying to figure out where Dickie is. Ultimately, you discover that his camper is not one that's sort of in the main area where you are. It's kind of up a hill where you'd have to kind of go off a bit to get there. And to get there, you're going to need a distraction of some sort, because there are a couple different residents of the pier who will stop you or will try to fight you if they feel like you're snooping around, going to places you shouldn't. So for your distraction, you, I think, again, do the Mind Palace to sort of figure out what to do. Ultimately, what you have to do is there's this life-sized bear that one of the people in the community carved that's pretty cool. And you basically douse it in gasoline and set it on fire so that everyone will be distracted to run over there, and you'll be able to run off to go find Dickie. Within this, too, you need to, sabotage different ways they might help. So, okay, I need to make sure that the hose doesn't work right away so that they can't just put the fire out right away. So it's pretty brutal. And I will say, for me, I hated both this puzzle and what you did. This person who carved this bear, their life is very hard, and you just destroyed something they created. I hated that. I did not like that at all. I feel like for Sam, nothing's excusable. You can't excuse this. Even if you do, figure out who killed Nick and all that stuff, I'm like, it doesn't sit well with me. I really didn't like that. I guess also kind of along the way, Sam, Sam's persona, I would say, or what he's like as a person, can sort of seem like, I think on one hand, he's just been super depressed and out of it. So he's kind of withdrawn as a person, but when he wasn't depressed, he was still, I think, kind of an asshole, or a bit of the truth no matter what. And so almost that attitude of like, well, if I have to ruin every relationship I have to find the truth, then I will do that. Like that's kind of what he's like. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. I would have really preferred if you could have like had Anna go do it, and maybe you would have got less information, but I would have way rather had that happen and have consequences later than to destroy someone's stuff like that. I didn't like that at all. And especially someone who didn't deserve it. Like, this person seems nice and they're down on their luck. It's not like, I don't know, doing something bad to a known bad person. This felt like just kicking someone while they're down. So I really didn't like that. That really didn't sit well with me. You do make your distraction, though. You go find Dickie, and Dickie tells you that Sheriff Declan has been running drugs and that Dickie dropped off the USB of Nick's stuff over at the Overlook outside of town, where you were at the beginning of the game. That's where it is. He dropped it off for the sheriff, and things will all be good after that. So from here, you and Anna get in the car and head off towards the Overlook. And again, you go into the Mind Palace. This time it's a maze. To me, this reminded me of the awful maze in Life is Strange at the end of the game. Really annoying. Did not like this. It felt very much like they didn't learn from past mistakes in this moment, and they were like, hey, remember a bad part in one of our good games? Let's do that again. So that was a bit of a bummer. On the opposite side of this, after this sequence, you do another longer memory lane sequence, which I'll say on the opposite end, cool part of Life is Strange to me. Just like in Life is Strange, where you get all those moments like I described at the beginning, you get that again here. And the three moments that you kind of have cycling for you is you go back and it's Nick's conversation with Bug saying I'm leaving. She's a kid, so of course she's like, what did I do? Why is this happening? You also have the same conversation with Nick, your best friend, saying, hey, I'm outie. And then lastly, ending things with Anna. In this, you discover that basically before, when you'd like tried to propose to her, you were kind of in a spot where our relationship isn't working, and you were kind of like, Hail Mary, what if we got engaged? Then we'd be all right. And you kind of see, no, things are over and we should call them over, kind of thing. But I liked these parts. This sequence to me, the good part of it, was probably my favorite thing in this game. I thought that was cool, and I liked revisiting these moments. Because these would be big. These three would totally stick with Sam. My impression is Sam has been sort of in a depressed fog a lot of the time since he's left, like, just kind of existing. And that these three things would be things that would probably haunt you or hold on to you. Like, because when he left, too, he hasn't spoken to anyone in 3 or 5 years or something like that. It's been a while. And so I think that would really stick with you. All right. Now you arrive at the Overlook and you find the USB. But Declan shows up and he tries to get you to leave and just give up the USB and just say, hey, you don't have to get hurt. Let me just destroy this. We're all good. So you have that. You kind of have your next sequence is you have sort of the Mind Palace meets a boss fight here, where you go through kind of a variety of sequences of, do I punch the sheriff? Do I try to hide? Do I try to confuse him? What's my goal? And in the boss fight, that will sort of dictate where your ending goes. For me, I was successful in this boss fight sequence. So you do have Anna get injured, but ultimately Sheriff Declan gets shot and he falls off of the Overlook. And so he's dead. The evidence goes down with him, but both you and Anna are alive, and so you can corroborate each other's stories as to what's going on. From here, you head to the epilogue. You go to see Anna at her house after she's been released from the hospital. She's hurt. You also have kind of your key people from the town that are there. So like your old boss, her dad, and have these moments. And then your ending, the pharmacist comes by. And in this, you figured out, kind of in your investigation, that Declan wasn't like the mastermind behind this drug ring. Instead, it's this pharmacist. That Declan was kind of the muscle and would do distribution related things, but he wasn't the money, he wasn't the mastermind. And so Sam kind of ultimately confronts the pharmacist at the end and is like, I'm going to go after you. The truth is what matters no matter what, kind of thing. That you're going to be behind bars. And it sort of leaves with that. So as your sort of final decision, what you can do is like, I'm going to go after the pharmacist, even if it hurts the town more and hurts it financially, because we need to rid this of it. Or you can kind of bow to it and be like, you're a bad thing, but the town is better off because you're here, almost kind of thing. So I went with Sam's After Truth. I felt like that's what he's been like. And even after all this experience, that's what he'd still be like. So, okay. That is the game itself. Finally, moving on to some kind of final thoughts along the way. I thought the pier location was really interesting. I like this. I thought it was pretty similar to the commune in Life is Strange 2. I thought that was cool. I think that was my favorite setting in this game. Going around Basswood and all of that stuff, it was like fine. Kind of neither here nor there. But I thought that, the pier location, that was interesting. I like that idea of what community did these people on Hard Times make. I thought that was cool. Kind of questions I have about the game upon playing is like, did the choices matter? How often did they feel like they did? I don't know. I felt pretty torn on this. As you saw going through here, I didn't even list any of the choices in my recap, really, and percents and all of that. Nothing stood out that much. And I think that that's a real bad thing in a game like this when it feels that way. I know that, truthfully, if you look at any choice-based game, Telltale game, Life is Strange, whatever, there are a lot of choices that really have to do with how you feel about the game, how you interact with it, how you might feel about a character, kind of minor stuff like that. And ultimately, there's maybe a result or two that will happen. But ideally, you're supposed to feel like those matter. I really care about my relationship between this and that character, so I want to answer in a way that they still like me, or I want an outcome for the most possible people, or the people I care about, or, whatever, that kind of thing. And this game didn't have a lot of that, to be honest. Kind of the whole way as I was playing, is I was like, I don't have anyone I really like here that much, and so whatever happens to any of them, I won't be that bummed. So I don't know. I think that's where that miss came in for sure for me. On these, it's a choice-based game, but it didn't feel like the choices mattered, and the consequences didn't feel like they mattered that much either. Next, I wanted to do a couple comparative points to Life is Strange. Again, I think that unfortunately for DontNod, if you're making a choice-based game, that's who it's getting compared to probably. So one difference was adult versus teenager. I thought that was interesting. I don't think that being an adult is a bad idea. I don't know if they should have chosen a different adult. As kind of talking, like Sam didn't resonate with me, and I like Sam, he's so cool. But the teenagers that they've made, or even college age people, have resonated better. So I don't know. I'm not sure what's with that. I would like to see an adult that does resonate. So I hope that if they make more games like this, they could try adult again. This one, this game didn't have powers, so they had the Mind Palace kind of sequence as a substitute for powers. So there's no supernatural stuff in Twin Mirror. Instead, they just use this mechanic as if it's supernatural, but really it's just your mind, basically. Versus, of course, Life is Strange games, those have powers and all of that. So I would say this hurt more for not having a power. I thought that the Mind Palace mechanic was kind of meh. It made sense for solving puzzles, but like playing it, didn't do a lot. And I think something supernatural probably would have been more fun. Kind of last big thing in this, for comparative sake, is music plays a huge part in Life is Strange. So much of those games are the vibes that kind of go with these and introducing you to cool songs and all of that. Music was not notable here at all. I don't remember music basically at all in this game. I know there was music, but nothing stood out. I couldn't. If you played something from the soundtrack for me, I wouldn't have thought I'd ever heard it before. It just was not notable at all here. Again, I know that's sort of a Life is Strange thing, not necessarily interactive story sort of deal. But again, for the comparison's sake, which again, I feel like all of this, I've talked through this game and kind of overall what I think, but it does lead me back to those questions I had at the beginning. Was Life is Strange a fluke for DontNod, and who does DontNod want to be? To be honest, not to be honest. With Life is Strange not being with DontNod anymore, I think that's fine. I imagine DontNod wanted that even. I wonder if they should just abandon interactive stories altogether. Tell Me Why wasn't... I haven't played it. It wasn't a Life is Strange game, but it does seem like it's more of a cousin to it, more similar than different. This one seems like it's trying to be a cousin, but further away. It's still doing the interactive stuff, but as I mentioned, there are a lot of things that are not as similar. Whereas I think that, from my understanding, Tell Me Why was more similar. Still teen or college age, younger people. That there were powers involved, some music being a bigger part, all of that. So, if Tell Me Why was like one step away from what Life is Strange was, Twin Mirror is like another step or two away from it. Still an interactive story, but otherwise fairly different. And again, going back to Vampire being kind of the better one of Life is Strange games I've played, or not Life is Strange, DontNod games that I've played from them as of recent. I know people like Remember Me. I didn't put that on there. I think Capcom was the publisher for that. But I don't know. I wonder if DontNod should abandon. Yeah, should they abandon interactive stories? What do they want to be? Do they want to become more of a publisher? I don't know. I'm not sure what their future is. I want it to work out for them. I feel like with this game, I guess also, I remember after Life is Strange playing the first one, my attitude was, if DontNod makes it, I'm going to buy it. And so the next thing that came out was Vampire. I liked it. The next one that came out was Life is Strange 2. Liked the game, but some of the things that went about it, Life is Strange kind of in that period went from an auto buy up day one, all that stuff, to I'll get it at some point. And so Twin Mirror, I hadn't picked up, and really I saw the reviews were kind of meh. And so that kind of had me delayed for a while until finally I was like, I do want to get back to DontNod. They were a developer I once loved. I want to see what they're up to. And after playing this, unfortunately, this has kind of gone down a bit more for me. I'm like, I think that I think it's going to be what is said about the games. I am interested in that Banishers game, but a lot of that has to do with, okay, it's Focus Home publishing it, who published Vampire. I assume it's the same people who made Vampire from DontNod are going to make that. So, that looks more favorable, but the other game, the Harmony game, developed by DontNod, published by DontNod, I'm going to want to see a bit more now. I feel like after Twin Mirror, I feel less sure that I'm like, oh, they've got it. They're going to make a game I definitely want. So, I don't know. I guess I want to say with all of that, I feel like this is more negative than I like to be or want to be. So, sorry. I don't think that's great. However, if you have thoughts about DontNod or things that might be helpful for expanding my view, I would actually really like to hear that. Because I think from this, I think my attitude's just been more like bummed about this. Like, I'm not like, yay, they're bad. Like, I don't want that. I want DontNod to make good games. Life is Strange is one of my favorite games ever. And also I do know that that's a tall task to go up against, shit. If it's one of your favorite games ever, then to be as good as that, well, then you need to make something that's like that good. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not sure. But yeah, I would love to hear that. Yeah, that's my episode though on this. If you've got other thoughts or want to keep talking, I'm on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. There we've got a bunch of past episodes. Also, you can find them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. And of those DontNod games, all of Life is Strange 2, Vampire, all of those we've done episodes on. If that's something you'd want to check out, yeah, go do that. If you'd like to support the podcast financially, we'd super appreciate that. You could do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, for as little as $1 per month, that will get you monthly access to a bonus episode, a monthly bonus episode that we do. So most recently, I've talked about the HBO show The Last of Us. I did an episode where I compared Uncharted to Tomb Raider. Over the summer, I'd rewatched all of the Star Wars movies and ranked them. If any of that stuff sounds like something you'd like, go check that out. If you'd like to support the podcast but can't financially, that's totally fine. One thing you could do that would be a big help is just rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or even just telling a friend about the show. I think anything where we can share our enjoyment of games together, that's the best. Honestly, that's the thing that makes this podcast enjoyable, is getting to sharing things with you all. So, yeah, would appreciate that a lot. And, yeah, that's the episode, and have a good one.